Hi, it's Pastor Paul L. Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. It is Terrific Tuesday. It is that day in the middle of the week or right at it that we thank God for the wonderful ways He's blessed us and how He keeps on blessing us over and over again. Today, I invite you to look with me again as we continue to pursue this saga of King Saul and the work that he has done. Today, we look at 1 Samuel, the 31st chapter. It's a time in which we begin to realize that whenever you and I find ourselves outside of the will of God and chasing after those things for ourselves, it will be to our demise. In our text on today, we find out that Samuel in the 31st chapter, the entire text of the first verse all the way through the 13th verse, it begins to let us see how Saul is always on a military conquest. He decides he wants to attack the Philistines, and he attacks the Philistines on the Mount of Gilboa. It is here on these slopes where he decides we're going to launch an attack. While he was in the midst of attacking them, he now finds out that this Philistine army is bigger and better than he thought they would be. It is on this mountain that we see that Saul is now killed. The text lets us see that his sons were killed. That was Jonathan, Abner, and Melchishah. As they were killed, we find out that Saul becomes wounded. He asked his armor bearer, "Please spare me. Do not allow me to be killed by the Philistines. Kill me yourself." Well, his armor bearer says, "King Saul, I can't do that. I cannot take your life." And so King Saul does something that we hear so much about. He falls on his own sword. That is, he decided, if I'm going to die, it will not be by the hands of my enemies. He falls on his sword. In essence, he takes his own life. And then we find out that his armor bearer does the same. Not only does he take his life, he finds out that those who were his quote unquote, his conquerors, they cut off his head. They display his body along with the bodies of his sons on the wall. And the Israelites get this message. And those who were in Jezreel Valley beyond the Jordan, they saw what had happened. They went and took Saul's body down. They took him out of the town of the Philistines, and they went and they did a cremation service. They wanted to make sure that he was buried in an honorable way, even though he died the way he did. This text begins to remind us sometimes you and I can be like Saul. We're always out pursuing things that God hadn't said, you need to fight this battle. And when we get ourselves out there, it is sometimes to our own personal demise. We find out that Saul falls on his own sword. He kills himself. Sometimes you and I, we're killing ourselves day by day by engaging in battles that God wouldn't have us to fight, engaging against wars with people that God would not have us to be fighting with. We live in a world today that it seems as though we are always in search of someone that we can conquer. Well, they found themselves placed in an awkward situation whereby Saul has lost his whole sense of following God, and he's not only leading himself astray, but all the men that were with him who blindly followed him. You and I must ask ourselves as leaders, how many of us are blindly leading people, bringing them to their own personal demise, and then we bring the same thing upon ourselves? We must always be in fervent prayer with God, asking God, God, show me the direction, show me the way. Allow me not to be so ambitious as Saul was, thinking I need to win every battle. But God, we thank you that the greatest battles that we have to fight are those battles that we don't fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places, because we fight with the warfare and the armor of God. I encourage you, my brothers, put on the whole armor of God in the book of Ephesians, that you and I might win the battle and that we might be the victor over every war, to let the devil know that God is on our side, and with him on our side, we'll be victorious. We thank God for the lessons that we learned through and by the Old Testament to help us realize how we should move forward. May God bless you, heaven smile upon you. Take the Lord with you everywhere you go, and I look forward to sharing with you again on tomorrow.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.